The minute that Russell Westbrook stepped into the crypto arena formerly known and much better known as the Staples Center, it felt like the wheels instantly fell off of him and started rolling in 4 different directions. Watching a living legend like Russell Westbrook, the guy who made the modern triple-double A routine, get relentlessly dragged for struggling in a situation that was doomed from the start, was tough to watch. There were entire segments dedicated solely to tearing him down.
Which brings us once again, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for our almost daily Russell Westbrook turnover blooper reel, the TBR. Once again, can we see it? This is 9 turnover. Russ, think about it. Now, come on, Russ, have a plan.
Got up in the air?
Yeah, got to have a plan.
Watch this one.
What? Russ.
Oh, this one. Check this one out right here, Skip.
What, Russ? Oops.
Skip, I mean, this
Russ,
is Keystone Cop.
Think about
it. Skip.
God. If you're playing high school basketball, you are benched. You're benched. Russ, you just got to hang on to the basketball. Got to protect. Charge.
Even if Skip had a point, who was he to constantly disrespect Russ by saying that high school players would get benched for committing the kind of atrocious turnovers that Russ was committing?
He's not that now, Skip. He's not.
Well, you're stuck with Russell Westbrook.
We are, Skip. Yep. What you want me to do about that?
Skip was relentless. When's the last time that you saw a former MVP get dragged as hard as Russ did in Los Angeles? The media ate him alive. And with his poor play and delusion, everyone was getting in on the action.
Positions and how we played and where I was at on the floor, wasn't really able to do some of the things that I was able to do. Even last year, like obviously I'm coming off of averaging a triple-double, so anything less than that would not be a good season for me in my eyes, you know what I'm saying? So that's why the scale of how it comes from is a little different.
The Lakers were out there wanting winning basketball, and Russ was out there wanting triple-doubles.
I may be biased, but I don't think there's anything cooler in a basketball game to get a triple-double. Like I said, I may be biased though, but that's just me.
Brody still had his ride or dies. Fans who would proudly charge headfirst into social media comment wars just to defend their guy. But for most NBA followers, Westbrook's legacy got twisted into nothing more than a meme or a quick laugh. Skip constantly trolling Russell Westbrook reminded me of when Shaq, with his Shaq-ing a Fool segment on TNT, constantly targeted JaVale McGee for some of his hilarious mishaps on the floor.
Number 2, a frequent nominee in Shaq-ing a Fool. Here's 3 boneheaded plays by my boy, JaVale McGee.
He's a regular on Shaq-ing a Fool.
That was number 1. Oh, post him up, JaVale. Post him up, JaVale. Hold him off. Hold him off.
That was a bad pass.
Number 1. Watch JaVale McGee this whole play.
Oh my God!
Watch this. And I asked the question, where the hell are you going?
Oh, you're an idiot!
Where the hell are you going?
Really serious that he runs back on defense when you still have the ball?
What are you doing?
Oh,
why you're not back in the play? Hustle back.
Sub.
That clip, where he's running back on defense, even Pixar's best writers and our DC world couldn't script something like that. Some of those moments were funny, but constantly getting singled out and having your past mistakes replayed over and over definitely wasn't. For the Big Diesel, it was all fun and games, but for JaVale, it got old fast. Always being the punchline takes a toll. Imagine you're hanging out with your friends. Everyone's roasting each other, so it's all good. But eventually, all of the jokes only start to get aimed at you. Now picture that same feeling, but instead of just your friends, it's millions of people worldwide. When everyone hears repeatedly that you're just some goofy basketball player, eventually some of them start believing it, and maybe you do too. In the world, and especially in the NBA, perception matters, and being labeled like that can seriously impact your career, which is why JaVale and company fought back. Players stepped up, coaches stepped in, even Shaq's own mom had to get involved to settle the beef. But ultimately, JaVale got the last laugh, flipping the script, reshaping his legacy, and walking away a 3-time NBA champion. As for Westbrook, before we dive into that, if you're enjoying this video, take a second right now to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. It might seem small, but every click helps keep this channel alive and growing. Westbrook definitely had his struggles with the Lakers, but more than anything, he became an easy scapegoat on a roster that frankly just wasn't very good. After hitting rock bottom as a Laker, Russ started trending upward, showing flashes of his prime Houston and OKC self as a Clipper, including that vintage 37-point performance against the so-called super team Suns, at a time where injuries had forced him to carry the load again. Then came his recent stint with Denver, where he often looked like the third best player alongside Nikola Jokic, after Jokic himself personally rolled out the red carpet to recruit him. Playing for pennies compared to his Lakers salary, Russ's Denver run raised a curious question. If he truly looked that good, was personally courted by the league's best player, and his contract was no longer a burden, why, similar to Ben Simmons, did Russ's free agency drag on deep into the summer after he declined his player option? By the way, make sure to check out that Ben Simmons video after this one. Trust me, it's one that you won't want to miss. The reality is, Westbrook's stint in Denver last season wasn't nearly as seamless as the highlights of it might suggest. Multiple reports say that the Nuggets moved on from head coach Mike Malone and general manager Calvin Booth, partly due to ongoing tension between the two. And one of their biggest points of contention reportedly centered around Russell Westbrook. Within the organization, many believe that Malone was giving preferential treatment to the OKC legend, advocating for Westbrook even at the expense of second-year guard Jalen Pickett's playing time. Malone's choice to continue supporting Westbrook despite the frustration that he was causing on and off the floor led to a loss of credibility among the team's key players. It was one thing when Malone handled Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray with more leniency than the rest of the group, but affording Westbrook that sort of treatment, even with his Hall of Fame credentials, wasn't received well by some. Reportedly, Calvin Booth was dismayed at how much loyalty that Michael Malone was giving to Russell Westbrook. In the NBA, star players often get away with things that others can't. It's practically built into the league's DNA. But the teams that truly build great cultures are the ones where everyone, no matter their star, is held equally accountable. That kind of fairness stops resentment from building up and makes sure that no player feels like there's a double standard in the locker room. But at this stage of his career, Russell Westbrook wasn't even a star. What kind of message does it send to your team, especially the young players on it, if you're giving special treatment to a role player that you're refusing to give to everyone else? Do you guys think that Westbrook's legendary status and the impact that he had on this Nuggets team should have earned him more opportunities than other players? I've personally experienced playing for a coach who favored certain players like that, and as someone who tends to overthink literally everything, it destroyed my confidence. The wildest part is, I genuinely believe that same coach would have liked me better if I'd just trusted my instincts and played my own game, instead of constantly worrying about their strict directions. I guess the dilemma with Westbrook was that he's the kind of player whose game runs on pure confidence. If you're not willing to buy into him, or as he's always said, let Russ be Russ, then you're never going to get his best performances. And for a Nuggets squad that was desperate to contend, getting the peak version of Westbrook was sort of non-negotiable if they wanted a real shot at contending. It's honestly amazing how polarizing that Westbrook remains, even now late into his career. Remember, a big reason that Darvin Ham landed the Lakers coaching gig was his bold plan to revitalize Russ, to transform him back into his best self, seamlessly fitting into a Spurs-style free-flowing offense with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. While the frustration over Westbrook's special treatment from management was definitely understandable, it was still surprising to see how strong the anti-Westbrook agenda remained among the media and fans. Even last season, when he was just a role player on a minimum contract, we had reputable accounts posting stats without context to push agendas, like highlighting how the Nuggets were 7-0 without Russ at one point last season, conveniently leaving out that most of those wins came against lottery-bound teams. Then, there was this wild mid-series report from ESPN's Ramona Shelburne that blew my mind. Minutes after the Nuggets lost Game 2 of their first-round series against the Clippers, Adelman had a problem. While he'd been at the post-game lectern, there'd been a heated discussion between Westbrook and Gordon in the locker room, multiple sources told ESPN. Gordon had challenged Westbrook about his attitude. Outside the locker room, one player relayed why Gordon might have done so. "He's so immature," he said of Russell Westbrook. That sounds awfully hypocritical. This reminded me of that infamous Westbrook is a vampire story from a random source. Not because Gordon stepped up and addressed Russ's attitude, but because the reporting made it seem like it was much worse than it was. Knowing Gordon, I'd imagine it was probably closer to a pep talk, especially considering that he's the same guy who once said this.
Same thing with Russ. I think he's gonna be a Hall of Famer too. So doing whatever I can to try and get him a ring, and just holding up my end of the bargain. So at the end of the day, these guys win too, and I think that's what really inspires me.
An unnamed player anonymously calling Russ immature, and the timing of it right in the middle of his struggles, that was just the cherry on top. Westbrook's homecoming series against OKC was undeniably rough, a disappointing end to what had otherwise been one of his stronger seasons in recent years. He averaged 13.3 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 6.1 assists, shooting 44.9% from the field and 32.3% from three. Even with that frustrating finish, the Nuggets got everything that they could have hoped for, and a whole lot more from a player on a veteran minimum deal. Still, Westbrook had a few head-scratching moments that made you wonder exactly how strong Malone's allegiance to Russ was. Moments that looked a little something like this.
Gordon is there, and he threw it away. It's a turnover, 2-on-1. Brown, Westbrook, no! Drives, feeds, boards. They got a foul. Wow.
Even as someone who has been a decent defender of Russell Westbrook and some of his silly antics in the past, this was one of those moments that made me wonder, what if the haters were right? But despite those missteps and all the behind-the-scenes drama, it's tough to think of many, if any, better bargain contracts in the NBA right now than Westbrook's last season. Another possible reason for Westbrook's free agency slide is kind of depressing. According to JaVale Fisher, the market for Russell Westbrook might have been stalled by Ben Simmons taking forever with his decision. Think about that. We're at the point of his career where one minimum contract point guard has held up the market for another. Russ will be 37 in November, but we are still talking about a guy who has had their free agency dragged deep into the offseason, possibly because of a guy who struggled even more than Russ did last year and is barely hanging on to his own NBA career. Just take a glance at Ben Simmons' first-round playoff stats from this year and stack them up against Russell Westbrook's, and then you tell me who should have been holding up whose free agency. The longest stretch that Westbrook has had with any team since leaving OKC was his 130-game run with the Lakers, and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. That's just not how things are supposed to play out for a legend like Russ. The main team linked to Russell Westbrook for most of the summer has been the Sacramento Kings, and while there's reportedly plenty of mutual interest, nothing solid would be concrete through the first few months. The thought of Westbrook in a Kings jersey just doesn't sit right with me. Sacramento could be a decent spot for letting Russ be Russ, even considering their crowded guard rotation, which probably means another move is coming, but it still feels wrong. In my recent Ben Simmons video that I've been talking so much about, I talked about Josh Smith in a Pelicans jersey, Paul Gasol with the Blazers, Shaq wearing Celtics green, and Melo as a Laker. Seeing Russ suit up for Sacramento would feel exactly like that. Although, I'm not opposed to see him go somewhere where they let Russ be Russ, as I'm sure peace of mind and feeling valued is something that Russ is searching for more than anything at this stage of his career. Then again, Russ is about to be 37, so Russ might just have to be Russ in his own role. And if peace of mind is really the goal, then what could possibly beat a homecoming to OKC, the reigning champions and the city where he built his legacy? Imagine Russ mentoring Topic, who I'll be covering in depth soon, on a good Thunder squad already stacked with talent and primed to contend year after year. Good luck trying to pin anything on Russ when OKC is coasting towards 70 wins, 60 plus wins, and a potential championship. That sounds like peace of mind to me. If Damian Lillard can make a league-breaking return to the Portland Trail Blazers, and Chris Paul can reunite with the Los Angeles Clippers after all these years, then who's to say that Russell Westbrook can't eventually find his way back home to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the franchise he defined, the city he embraced, and the team where his legacy was built? In the comments, leave what you think is next for Russell Westbrook. Tell me where you think that Russ will land, or even better, where you hope that he suits up before he retires. Does he still have some vintage Brody left, or is it finally time to ride off into the sunset? Give me your takes in the comments below. Anyways, there's some more going on in the basketball universe that we have to be covering, so clicking one of the videos that's on the screen right now is a great way to support this channel. I'm Get Like Coop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.